Dear friends, welcome to the family of Knowledge World. So, today we have come to the end of the first part of the evolution of Indian Constitution, where we started from the Pitt's India Act. We covered the Regulating Act, then we covered the Charter Acts, and now finally we have come to the Government of India Act 1858. So friends, I will cover the historical background of the Government of India Act, its provisions, its significance, and its shortcomings. And also from today, we will also add one more topic, subtopic, that is important facts. Okay. So let's talk about the Government of India Act 1858. Okay. So before that, I would like to talk briefly about the revolt of 1857, or the first war of independence of 1857. So due to companies' policies in India, like doctrine of lapse, the cartridges rumors, as well as the treatment of the Indian sepoys, like they were paid 10 times less salary than the British sepoys. All this led to the mutiny or the war of 1857. But it was put down by the British somehow. Even though the war or the revolt was put down, but what happened was there was panic amongst the British that this revolt, why it happened, and what led to the factors. And one important factor they identified was due to the policies of East India Company, this revolt took place. So the British government felt that the East India Company, that is the trading company, should not be given political activities and their rule should be ended. For this reason, this act was passed. Okay. So what is the Government of India Act? Okay. The Government of India Act was passed by the British Parliament. It received royal assent on August 1st, 1858, and it came into existence on November 1st, 1858. Okay. The main provisions of the Act. First, the rule of the East India Company was ended. Okay. The rule of East India Company, there were no longer East India Company had the power to rule India. Second, the territories of British India would be administered in the name of the Crown. So basically, it came under at that time Queen Victoria. Okay. And one more provision is the dual system of government which was created was abolished. That is the court of directors and the board of control. Okay. The court of directors and the board of control. The functions of the board of the functions of the board of control was transferred to the Secretary of State. A new office of Secretary of State was created, who was the member of the Parliament of UK and also who was the member of British Cabinet. He would act as the communication between the Indian administration and British Parliament. The Secretary of State would be assisted by his council that would contain 15 members. Okay, I hope you're understanding. There would be a Secretary of State and there would be a council of 15 members who would assist him and advise him. Okay, and the chairman of the council was the Secretary of State. He was only responsible to the British Parliament. The British Parliament could ask the Secretary of State questions regarding the Indian affairs. Next provision, the representative of government in India, British government in India, was the Viceroy. There was a Viceroy who would be appointed by the Crown, and also the governors of the presidencies also would be appointed by the Crown. Okay. And last provision, there would be Indian civil services, and Indians, a provision was included which also would include Indians in the civil service examination to run the Indian administration. Okay. Importance of the act, I'm sorry. It eliminated the controversial doctrine of lapse. Okay. So you know what was Lord Dalhousie introduced doctrine of lapse. According to doctrine of lapse, a king, if he died, if he did not have the natural heir to the throne, that territory would be annexed to the British Empire and no adopted son could be placed to the throne. So that proved to be very controversial. So that was ended due to this act. This act stated that anyone could succeed the kingdom and the princely state would be maintained unless and until they would not challenge the British government. That is, the kings and princes, the princes in India who they were previously kings and due to this act they became princes, would show their loyalty to the British crown. They would come under the British government. Okay. And one more was the civil service in Indians was one more importance of the act was Indians was granted the civil service, where Indians could participate in the civil services through exams. Okay. The defects of the act. The first and important defect was no Indian were represented in either Viceroy's Council or the Council of the Secretary of State. And the second important defect was the Secretary of State's power was absolute, and he would be responsible to the British Parliament and not to Indians. Okay. Important facts. The first Viceroy of India was Lord Canning, and the first Secretary of State was the first Secretary of State was Lord Stanley. The Government of India Act 1858 was also called the Good Governance Act 1858. Friends, we have come to the end of the lecture. If you have any doubt, you can comment, and please don't forget to like, subscribe and share our channel.